The soft hum of conversation filled the air as Adrian Carter walked into one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants. The place was known for its chic decor, innovative dishes, and a clientele that included some of the city's wealthiest individuals. Dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue suit, Adrian exuded confidence and success. His presence commanded attention, though he seemed oblivious to it. For him, this was just another evening, another celebration of yet another business deal closed successfully. Adrian had built his empire from scratch. Starting with nothing but determination and a knack for spotting opportunities, he turned his small tech startup into a global powerhouse. Now at 38, he was worth billions, with his name frequently appearing in glossy magazines alongside words like visionary and philanthropist. But tonight, none of that mattered. He wasn't here to network or impress anyone. He simply wanted to enjoy a quiet meal after weeks of relentless work. As he settled into his seat by the window, Adrian ordered his usual, a grilled salmon dish paired with a glass of red wine. While waiting for his food, he let his mind wander. The restaurant buzzed around him, waitstaff moving gracefully between tables, patrons laughing over shared plates. But something caught his eye. Or rather, someone did. Across the room, near the bar area, stood a young woman balancing a tray laden with drinks. She moved efficiently, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and her uniform, a simple black apron over a white shirt, was crisp and clean. At first glance, she looked like any other waitress working hard to earn her keep. But there was something familiar about her face, something that tugged at the edges of Adrian's memory. Leaned slightly forward, narrowing his eyes as he tried to place her. It took only a few seconds before realization dawned on him, hitting him like a bolt of lightning. That smile, that warm, genuine smile, it belonged to Emily Dawson. Emily Dawson. The name echoed in his mind, bringing with it a flood of memories. They hadn't been best friends in high school, but they'd shared enough moments to leave an impression. Back then, Emily was one of those people who lit up every room she entered. She was smart, brilliant really, with a passion for science and engineering that inspired everyone around her. Adrian remembered late-night study sessions in the library, where Emily would patiently explain complex concepts to classmates struggling to keep up. He recalled how she always carried extra notebooks and pens, ready to lend them to anyone in need. And he couldn't forget the way she laughed, so full of joy and energy, it made even the dreariest days feel brighter. But now, seeing her here, dressed in a waitress's uniform, felt surreal. How could someone so talented and driven end up serving drinks in a fancy restaurant? Adrian's curiosity quickly gave way to concern. What had happened to Emily since their school days? Where were all those dreams she used to talk about? Had life thrown obstacles her way that she couldn't overcome? For a moment, Adrian considered approaching her right then and there, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the fear of seeming intrusive or the uncertainty of how she might react. After all, they hadn't spoken in over 15 years. Would she even remember him? Instead, he chose to observe her from afar, watching as she interacted with customers and handled her duties with professionalism and grace. Despite her calm demeanor, Adrian noticed subtle signs of fatigue. There were faint shadows under her eyes, and her movements, though efficient, lacked the vibrancy he remembered from their youth. It was clear she was working hard, not just to get by, but perhaps to support others too. Was she still taking care of people the way she used to in high school? Was she sacrificing her own dreams to help someone else? As his thoughts swirled, Adrian found himself reflecting on his own journey. Unlike Emily, he had been fortunate enough to pursue his ambitions without major setbacks. Sure, he faced challenges along the way, but he never had to choose between his education and putting food on the table. He wondered if their paths would have crossed more often if circumstances had been different. Would they have remained friends beyond high school? Would he have recognized her potential and encouraged her to aim higher? By the time his meal arrived, Adrian's appetite had diminished. His mind was consumed by questions about Emily's life and what led her to this point. He knew he couldn't leave things as they were. Seeing her reignited a sense of responsibility within him, a desire to understand her story and, if possible, offer some form of support. But how should he go about it? Should he introduce himself casually, pretending their meeting was purely coincidental? Or should he take a more direct approach, acknowledging the connection they once shared? Adrian decided to wait. For now, he would continue observing, gathering clues about her situation without rushing into anything. One thing was certain. This chance encounter had stirred emotions he hadn't felt in years. Whether it was nostalgia, guilt, or admiration, he couldn't quite pinpoint. All he knew was that Emily Dawson's presence in this restaurant had sparked something inside him, a spark that refused to fade. As he finished his meal and prepared to leave, Adrian glanced at Emily one last time. She was clearing a table, her head bowed in concentration. He felt a strange mix of sadness and hope. Sadness for the path life had taken her down, and hope that maybe, just maybe, he could play a role in helping her find her way back to the dreams she once cherished. With that thought lingering in his mind, Adrian stepped out of the restaurant and into the cool New York night. The city lights shimmered around him, casting long shadows on the pavement. But his thoughts remained fixed on Emily. Little did he know this encounter would set off a chain of events that would change both their lives forever. The days following Adrian's chance encounter with Emily at the restaurant were filled with a mix of curiosity and introspection. He couldn't shake the image of her from his mind, her tired yet determined expression, the quiet efficiency with which she worked, and the faint smile that seemed to carry both resilience and resignation. It was as if every glance at her revealed another layer of a story he didn't fully understand, but desperately wanted to. Adrian wasn't the kind of man who acted on impulse. His success had been built on careful planning, strategic thinking, and a deep understanding of human behavior. But this situation was different. This wasn't about business or numbers. It was personal. For reasons he couldn't quite articulate, Emily's circumstances struck a chord within him. Perhaps it was because they had once shared a classroom, their lives briefly intertwined during a time when dreams felt limitless. Or maybe it was the stark contrast between where he was now and where she seemed to be that made him feel uneasy. Determined to learn more, Adrian decided to dig deeper, but discreetly. He didn't want to invade her privacy or come across as intrusive. Instead, he used the resources available to him in subtle ways. First, he reached out to mutual acquaintances from high school, people who might have kept tabs on Emily over the years. He framed his inquiries casually, mentioning that he'd bumped into her recently and was curious about how life had treated her. Some responded with vague details, while others admitted they hadn't heard much from her since graduation. Next, Adrian turned to public records and social media platforms. While he avoided prying too deeply into her private life, he managed to piece together fragments of her journey. What he discovered painted a picture far more complex and heartbreaking than he could have imagined. Emily had enrolled in college after high school, pursuing a degree in engineering, a field she had loved and excelled in during her teenage years. Her academic performance was stellar, earning her scholarships and accolades early on. But midway through her second year, tragedy struck. Her father passed away unexpectedly, leaving behind mounting medical bills that drained the family's savings. With no financial safety net to fall back on, Emily made the difficult decision to drop out of school to support her mother and younger brother. From there, her path took a series of twists and turns. She worked odd jobs wherever she could find, then waitressing retail temp work, all while trying to keep her family afloat. Despite the hardships, Emily refused to give up entirely on her passion for science and technology. In her spare time, she volunteered at local community centers, teaching kids about robotics and coding. She also mentored young girls interested in STEM fields, encouraging them to pursue careers in areas traditionally dominated by men. Adrian found himself deeply moved by what he uncovered. Here was someone who, despite facing unimaginable challenges, continued to contribute positively to the world around her. Her actions spoke volumes about her character, her selflessness, determination, and unwavering belief in the power of education. Yet, for all her efforts, life seemed to have dealt her an unfair hand. Why should someone so talented and driven be stuck working long hours as a waitress, barely scraping by? As Adrian reflected on these revelations, he began to question his own role in the narrative. Over the years, he had achieved incredible success, amassing wealth and influence beyond what most people could dream of. But he realized with a pang of guilt that he had lost touch with many of his old classmates, including Emily. Had he ever stopped to wonder how they were doing? Had he taken a moment to check in on those who might not have been as fortunate as him? These thoughts weighed heavily on Adrian's mind. He knew he couldn't undo the past, but perhaps he could make a difference in the present. The idea of reaching out to Emily grew stronger with each passing day. However, he was cautious. He didn't want his intentions to come across as patronizing or self-serving. Helping someone shouldn't be about making oneself feel better. It should be about genuinely improving their life. To ensure he approached the situation thoughtfully, Adrian spent hours brainstorming ideas. Should he offer her financial assistance outright? No. That felt too abrupt and impersonal. Should he create opportunities for her to showcase her skills? Maybe. But he worried it might come off as manipulative. Ultimately, he settled on a simpler plan: reconnect with her personally, establish trust, and let her guide the conversation. If she was open to discussing her struggles, he would listen without judgment. And if she needed help, he would offer it sincerely without strings attached. With this resolve in mind, Adrian returned to the same restaurant a few evenings later. He chose a table near the bar area, ensuring it fell within Emily's section. When she approached him to take his order, he greeted her warmly. "Hi, Emily," he said, his tone friendly but respectful. "It's been a long time." Emily froze for a split second, clearly surprised to hear her name. Then recognition dawned on her face, followed by a hesitant smile. "Adrian?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Wow, I can't believe you remember me." "Of course I do," Adrian replied, returning her smile. "We spent plenty of late nights studying together in high school. Those sessions were memorable." She chuckled softly, though there was a hint of nervousness in her expression. "Well, I doubt I made much of an impression on you back then. You were always focused on your goals, and you were always helping everyone else reach theirs," Adrian countered gently. "That's why I wanted to say hello. Seeing you here reminded me of how much you inspired people, even if you didn't realize it." Emily's cheeks flushed slightly, and she glanced down at her notepad. "Thank you," she murmured. "That means a lot." They exchanged pleasantries for a few minutes, talking about mundane topics like the weather and the restaurant's menu. But Adrian could sense that Emily was holding back, unsure of how to navigate this unexpected reunion. Sensing her discomfort, he decided to ease into the conversation. "I'd love to catch up properly sometime," Adrian suggested casually. "Maybe we could grab coffee or lunch. It's been years since we last talked, and I'd really like to hear about what you've been up to." For a moment, Emily hesitated. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty, as if weighing whether accepting his invitation would be wise. Finally, she nodded. "Sure, that sounds nice. Let me know when works for you." Relieved that she hadn't dismissed his offer outright, Adrian smiled. "Great. I'll reach out soon." As Emily walked away to attend to other customers, Adrian watched her thoughtfully. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Rebuilding a connection after so many years required patience, empathy, and authenticity. But he was willing to put in the effort. Something about Emily's story resonated deeply with him, reminding him of the importance of kindness, humility, and giving back. Over the next few days, Adrian found himself eagerly anticipating their meeting. He rehearsed what he wanted to say, carefully choosing words that conveyed sincerity without overstepping boundaries. He reminded himself repeatedly that this wasn't about fixing her life overnight. It was about listening, understanding, and offering support in whatever form she needed. When the day of their meetup finally arrived, Adrian felt a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. He knew this conversation could change everything or nothing at all. Either way, he was ready to take the first step toward reconnecting with someone who, despite the passage of time, still mattered to him in ways he couldn't fully explain. The day of their meeting arrived, and Adrian chose a quiet cafe tucked away on a side street. It wasn't flashy or overly trendy, but it had a cozy charm that he hoped would put Emily at ease. He arrived early, taking a seat by the window where sunlight streamed in through sheer curtains, casting soft shadows on the wooden tables. As he sipped his coffee, he rehearsed what he wanted to say in his mind, knowing how delicate this conversation could be. This wasn't just about catching up, it was about bridging years of silence and offering something meaningful without making her feel obligated. When Emily walked in, she looked different from the last time he'd seen her. She wasn't wearing her waitress uniform today. Instead, she wore a simple sweater and jeans that gave her a more relaxed appearance. Her hair was tied back loosely, and though she carried herself with quiet confidence, there was a hint of nervousness in her eyes. Adrian stood up as she approached, smiling warmly to reassure her. "Emily, thanks for coming," he said, gesturing for her to sit down. "I hope this place is okay." "It's perfect," she replied, settling into the chair across from him. "You didn't have to go out of your way, though. I'm sure you're busy." Adrian shook his head. "Not too busy for this. Besides, it's not every day you run into an old classmate after so many years." They started with small talk, comments about the weather, the cafe's decor, and how the city had changed since their high school days. But soon the conversation shifted to more personal topics. Adrian asked about her family, her hobbies, and what she enjoyed doing outside of work. At first, Emily answered cautiously, keeping her responses brief and measured. But as they talked, she began opening up, revealing glimpses of her life that painted a fuller picture of who she was now. She spoke candidly about the challenges she faced after leaving college, the financial struggles, the weight of responsibility for her mother and brother, and the sacrifices she made along the way. Her voice wavered at times, but there was strength in her words, a quiet determination that reminded Adrian of the girl he once knew. She also shared stories about her volunteer work, lighting up when she described teaching kids about robotics and seeing their faces light up with excitement. For all the hardships she endured, it was clear that helping others brought her immense joy. Listening intently, Adrian felt a surge of admiration for her resilience. Here was someone who had faced adversity head-on, refusing to let circumstances define her. Yet beneath her optimism, he sensed an underlying sadness, a sense of unfinished dreams and missed opportunities. When she paused to take a sip of her tea, Adrian decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. "Emily," he began gently, choosing his words carefully. "I know we haven't been in touch for years, and I don't expect you to trust me right away. But hearing your story, it makes me realize how much potential you have. You're brilliant, passionate, and incredibly hardworking. And honestly, I can't help but wonder why someone like you isn't pursuing your degree or working in a field you love." Emily stiffened, slightly, her fingers gripping the handle of her teacup. "It's complicated," she said softly, avoiding his gaze. "Life doesn't always give you choices, you know. Sometimes you just do what you have to do." "I understand that," Adrian replied, leaning forward slightly to convey sincerity. "Believe me, I've seen my share of challenges too. But here's the thing. I think you deserve better than just getting by. You deserve a chance to chase your dreams again, and if there's anything I can do to help make that happen, I want to." For a long moment, Emily didn't respond. She stared at him, her expression unreadable, as if trying to gauge whether his offer was genuine. Finally, she sighed and looked away. "Adrian, I appreciate the thought, really I do. But I don't want anyone feeling sorry for me or thinking they need to fix my life. I've managed on my own for this long." "I'm not offering out of pity," Adrian said firmly. "This isn't charity, it's an investment in you. You have talent, Emily. Talent that shouldn't go to waste because life threw obstacles your way. If you're willing, I'd like to fund your education and provide whatever resources you need to finish your degree. Think of it as leveling the playing field." Emily blinked, clearly taken aback. "That's a huge offer," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "But why? Why would you do that for someone you haven't seen in 15 years? Adrian hesitated, searching for the right words. Because I believe in second chances, he said finally. And because I see myself in you, in the way you fight for what matters, even when it's hard. Helping you feels like the right thing to do. No strings attached, no expectations, just a chance for you to reclaim what you lost. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, and she quickly blinked them away, embarrassed. I don't know what to say, she admitted. It's overwhelming. Part of me wants to say yes immediately, but another part is scared. What if I fail? What if I disappoint you? You won't disappoint me, Adrian assured her. Failure is part of the process. I've failed countless times in my own journey. The important thing is to keep going, to learn from mistakes and grow stronger. And if you ever need guidance, I'll be here. Not as some distant benefactor, but as someone who genuinely cares about your success. They sat in silence for a while, the weight of his words hanging between them. Emily stared into her teacup, her mind racing with possibilities. Could she really go back to school? Could she pick up where she left off and pursue the career she once dreamed of? The idea was thrilling yet terrifying. After years of focusing solely on survival, the thought of stepping onto a new path felt both exhilarating and daunting. Finally, she looked up at Adrian, her eyes filled with resolve. Okay, she said quietly. If you're serious about this, then yes, I'll accept your help, but only under one condition. What's that? Adrian asked, curious. That I pay you back someday, Emily replied firmly. Not just financially, but by proving that your faith in me wasn't misplaced. I want to show you, and myself, that I'm capable of achieving what I set out to do. Adrian smiled, relief washing over him. Deal, he said. But remember, repayment isn't the goal here. Seeing you succeed will be reward enough. As they continued talking, the atmosphere between them shifted. The initial awkwardness dissolved, replaced by a sense of mutual respect and understanding. Emily opened up further, sharing more about her aspirations and the specific areas of engineering she was passionate about. Adrian listened attentively, offering advice and insights based on his own experiences. By the end of their meeting, they had outlined a plan. Emily would enroll in a prestigious university's engineering program, and Adrian would cover her tuition and living expenses while providing mentorship whenever needed. Walking out of the cafe together, Adrian felt a renewed sense of purpose. For years, his wealth and influence had allowed him to achieve incredible things, but none of those accomplishments compared to the satisfaction of extending a lifeline to someone who truly deserved it. Meanwhile, Emily walked with a spring in her step, her heart brimming with hope for the future. Though the road ahead wouldn't be easy, she knew she wasn't alone anymore. With Adrian's support and her own unyielding determination, she was ready to rewrite her story. Little did either of them know, this decision would mark the beginning of a transformative journey, not just for Emily but for Adrian as well. The months that followed their meeting at the cafe were a whirlwind of activity for Emily. With Adrian's support, she enrolled in a prestigious university's engineering program, picking up right where she had left off years ago. At first, the transition was overwhelming. After spending so much time away from academia, Emily found herself struggling to keep up with the rigorous coursework and demanding schedule. But her determination never wavered. She spent countless late nights poring over textbooks, attending study groups, and seeking guidance from professors who recognized her potential. Adrian kept his promise, maintaining a hands-off approach while still being available whenever Emily needed advice or encouragement. He would occasionally check in with her, asking how classes were going or if there was anything specific he could do to help. These interactions were always casual and respectful, never intrusive. Over time, their relationship evolved into something deeper than just benefactor and beneficiary. It became a genuine friendship built on mutual trust and admiration. Emily thrived in her studies, quickly earning a reputation as one of the brightest students in her cohort. Her passion for innovation shone through in every project she worked on, whether it was designing sustainable energy solutions or developing cutting-edge robotics technology. Professors praised her creativity and problem-solving skills, while classmates admired her willingness to collaborate and share knowledge. It wasn't long before Emily began receiving recognition for her work, including awards and scholarships that further validated her hard-earned achievements. But as word of Adrian's involvement spread, whispers started circulating both within the university and beyond. Some people speculated about his motives, questioning why a billionaire would invest so heavily in someone he barely knew. Rumors ranged from romantic interest to self-serving publicity stunts. Tabloids picked up on the story, publishing articles that sensationalized their connection and painted it in a less than flattering light. Headlines like "Billionaire bankrolls former classmates' comeback" and "Is this charity or something more?" dominated social media feeds, sparking heated debates among readers. At first, Emily tried to ignore the attention. She focused on her studies, reminding herself that what mattered most was her progress, not what others thought. But as the scrutiny intensified, it became harder to brush off. Friends and acquaintances began asking probing questions, some out of genuine curiosity and others with thinly veiled skepticism. Even strangers approached her on campus, eager to get details about her relationship with Adrian. One particularly challenging moment came when a journalist cornered Emily after a university event. Cameras flashed as microphones were thrust toward her face, bombarding her with invasive questions. "How does it feel to have a billionaire backing you?" one reporter asked. "Are you two dating?" another chimed in. The barrage of inquiries left Emily flustered and frustrated, unsure of how to respond without fueling more speculation. When Adrian heard about the incident, he immediately reached out to Emily. "I'm so sorry you had to deal with that," he said over the phone, his tone filled with concern. "This isn't fair to you. If you want, I can issue a statement to set the record straight." "No," Emily replied firmly, though her voice trembled slightly. "I don't want to give them any more ammunition. Letting them see how much this bothers me will only make things worse. We know the truth, and that's all that matters." Adrian respected her decision but couldn't shake the guilt gnawing at him. He hadn't anticipated the level of public interest or criticism their arrangement would attract. Though his intentions were pure, he realized now that his actions had unintended consequences. By stepping into Emily's life the way he did, he inadvertently put her in the spotlight, making her a target for judgment and gossip. Determined to protect her, Adrian took steps to shield Emily from further intrusion. He instructed his PR team to decline interviews about the matter and issued a brief private statement, clarifying that his support for Emily was purely altruistic. While the media frenzy didn't disappear overnight, it eventually died down as news stories captured public attention. In the meantime, Emily continued to excel, proving her critics wrong with each milestone she achieved. She landed internships at top tech companies, contributed to groundbreaking research projects, and even co-authored a paper that gained international acclaim. Through it all, Adrian remained a steady presence in her life, cheering her on from the sidelines and celebrating her successes as if they were his own. Their bond deepened during quiet moments shared outside the chaos of public opinion. They often met for coffee or dinner, discussing everything from complex engineering concepts to childhood memories. These conversations revealed layers of vulnerability and humor that neither had expected. Adrian learned about Emily's love for baking and her secret dream of opening a small cafe someday. Emily discovered Adrian's hidden talent for painting and his habit of binge-watching documentaries late at night. Despite the challenges they faced, these interactions reminded them of why their partnership worked. It wasn't about money or fame. It was about two people connecting on a human level, supporting each other through life's ups and downs. For Emily, having Adrian in her corner gave her the confidence to push past doubts and embrace her full potential. And for Adrian, seeing Emily flourish reignited a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. As graduation day approached, Emily reflected on how far she'd come. From working long hours as a waitress to standing on the brink of a promising career, her journey was nothing short of extraordinary. She knew she owed much of her success to Adrian's unwavering belief in her, but she also recognized that the real credit belonged to herself. She had fought tooth and nail to reclaim her dreams, refusing to let adversity define her. On the morning of her graduation ceremony, Emily woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nostalgia. As she prepared to walk across the stage and receive her diploma, she thought about everyone who had supported her along the way. Her mother, whose sacrifices had laid the foundation for her resilience, her younger brother, whose unwavering optimism kept her going on tough days, and of course Adrian, whose kindness had changed the trajectory of her life. When her name was called, Emily stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding with pride. The applause from the audience echoed around her, but it was the sight of Adrian sitting in the front row, clapping enthusiastically, that brought tears to her eyes. In that moment, she realized that their story wasn't just about second chances or overcoming obstacles. It was about the transformative power of compassion and trust. After the ceremony, Adrian surprised Emily with an offer she hadn't anticipated. "I'd like you to join my company's research division," he said, his expression earnest. "You'd lead innovative projects aimed at solving real-world problems. It's a role tailor-made for someone with your vision and expertise." Emily was touched by the gesture but hesitated before responding. Joining Adrian's team would undoubtedly open doors and provide stability, but it also meant relying on him once again. After years of striving for independence, she wanted to forge her own path. Smiling softly, she shook her head. "Thank you, Adrian. It's an incredible opportunity, and I'm honored you'd consider me. But I think I need to take this next step on my own." Adrian nodded, understanding completely. "I respect that," he said, "and I'll always be here if you ever need anything, whether it's advice, resources, or just someone to celebrate your victories with." With that assurance, Emily made a bold decision. Instead of accepting a high-paying job offer, she founded her own nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering women in STEM fields. Drawing inspiration from her own experiences, she created programs designed to mentor young girls, provide scholarships, and create safe spaces for underrepresented voices to thrive. The initiative quickly gained traction, earning praise from educators, industry leaders, and community members alike. Looking back, Emily knew that none of this would have been possible without Adrian's intervention. Yet she also understood that true transformation came from within. By choosing to invest in her future, Adrian had given her not just financial support, but also the belief that she was worthy of greatness. And in doing so, he had inspired her to pay it forward, creating a ripple effect of hope and opportunity for others. Though their lives continued to evolve separately, their connection remained unshakable. Whether sharing laughter over coffee or exchanging heartfelt messages during milestones, they carried the lessons of their journey with them. For Adrian, helping Emily reaffirmed the importance of using privilege for good. And for Emily, overcoming adversity taught her that no dream is too big and no obstacle insurmountable, as long as you have faith in yourself and the courage to ask for help when needed. Together, they proved that kindness, when paired with action, has the power to change lives, not just for one person but for generations to come. The years that followed Emily's graduation marked a new chapter not just for her, but for Adrian as well. Their lives had intertwined in ways neither could have predicted when they first reconnected at the restaurant. What began as a chance encounter evolved into a partnership rooted in trust, mutual respect, and shared values. While their paths diverged professionally, their bond remained steadfast, a testament to the power of genuine human connection. Emily poured her heart and soul into her nonprofit organization, which she named STEM Horizon. The name symbolized hope, opportunity, and the limitless possibilities awaiting young women eager to explore careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Her vision was clear: to dismantle barriers that prevented girls from pursuing STEM fields and provide them with the tools, mentorship, and confidence needed to succeed. Through workshops, scholarships, internships, and community outreach programs, Emily created a network of support that touched countless lives. Her work quickly gained recognition. News outlets featured stories about STEM Horizon, highlighting its impact on underserved communities. Educators praised Emily's innovative approach to teaching complex concepts in relatable ways. Industry leaders invited her to speak at conferences, where she inspired audiences with her story of resilience and determination. Despite the accolades, Emily stayed grounded, always remembering the struggles that fueled her mission. She often credited Adrian for giving her the push she needed to reclaim her dreams, but she also emphasized that her success was a collective effort, built on the shoulders of those who believed in her along the way. Adrian watched proudly as Emily transformed into a leader whose influence extended far beyond what she might have imagined. He attended events hosted by STEM Horizon whenever possible, marveling at how seamlessly she connected with people from all walks of life. Whether addressing a room full of high school students or networking with executives, Emily carried herself with grace and authenticity. Her ability to inspire others reminded Adrian of why he chose to help her in the first place, not because he saw her as someone in need of saving, but because he recognized her potential to make a difference. Their friendship continued to flourish despite their busy schedules. They met regularly for coffee, meals, or long walks through Central Park, catching up on each other's lives and sharing updates about their respective projects. These moments were precious to both of them, offering a sense of normalcy amidst the whirlwind of achievements and challenges. Over time, they became confidants, leaning on one another during tough decisions and celebrating milestones together. One evening, as they sat on a bench overlooking the park's serene lake, Adrian turned to Emily with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't crossed paths again?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity. Emily smiled softly, considering the question. "All the time," she admitted. "I think about it especially when I see how much good has come out of this. How many lives are being changed because of what you did for me. But honestly, I try not to dwell on what-ifs. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes the smallest moments lead to the biggest changes." Adrian nodded, absorbing her words. "You're right. Still, it makes me grateful for your work and for the reminder that even small actions can create ripples we may never fully understand." Their conversation shifted to lighter topics filled with laughter and reminiscing about their high school days. Yet, beneath the surface, there was an unspoken acknowledgement of how profoundly their reunion had shaped their lives. For Emily, Adrian's intervention wasn't just financial support, it was validation that her dreams mattered. For Adrian, helping Emily reignited his belief in the importance of using his resources to uplift others. As STEM Horizon grew, so did its reach. Emily expanded the organization's programs internationally, partnering with schools and communities in developing countries to bring STEM education to areas where opportunities were scarce. She traveled frequently, meeting students whose eyes lit up with excitement when they learned about robotics, coding, or renewable energy. Each interaction reinforced her conviction that every child deserved access to quality education, and that investing in young minds could change the world. Meanwhile, Adrian found himself inspired by Emily's dedication to giving back. Though he had always been involved in philanthropy, witnessing her grassroots efforts motivated him to take a more hands-on approach. He began collaborating with STEM Horizon, funding initiatives and leveraging his connections to amplify its impact. Together, they launched a scholarship fund specifically for single mothers pursuing degrees in STEM fields, a cause close to Emily's heart, given her own experiences supporting her family. Despite their accomplishments, neither Emily nor Adrian escaped criticism entirely. Skeptics still questioned their motives, accusing Adrian of seeking publicity or implying that Emily owed her success solely to his generosity. Social media buzzed with debates, dissecting their relationship and speculating about ulterior motives. But both handled the scrutiny with grace, refusing to let negativity overshadow their mission. In interviews, Emily consistently redirected focus to the larger purpose of STEM Horizon. "This isn't about me," she would say. "It's about creating pathways for people who wouldn't otherwise have them. Yes, Adrian played a role in my journey, but the real heroes are the girls and women who show up every day, ready to learn and grow despite the odds stacked against them. Adrian echoed her sentiments whenever questioned about his involvement. Helping Emily was never about me, he insisted. It was about recognizing talent and potential and understanding that everyone deserves a fair shot. If my actions inspire others to pay it forward, then that's the greatest reward. As the years passed, their story became a beacon of hope for many. It served as proof that kindness, paired with action, could transform lives in profound ways. People began reaching out to share how Emily and Adrian's journey had inspired them to pursue their own dreams or extend a helping hand to someone in need. Letters poured in from strangers thanking them for proving that second chances were possible and that no obstacle was insurmountable with the right support system. On a crisp autumn afternoon, several years after their initial meeting, Emily stood on stage at a gala honoring STEM Horizons achievements. The room was packed, with supporters, volunteers, donors, and beneficiaries of the organization's programs. As she delivered her acceptance speech, her gaze landed on Adrian sitting in the front row, clapping enthusiastically alongside the crowd. "I want to dedicate this award to someone very special," Emily said, pausing to smile warmly in his direction. "To Adrian Carter, whose belief in me changed everything. You didn't just give me an opportunity. You reminded me that I was capable of achieving greatness. And because of that, I've been able to pass that belief on to others." The audience erupted into applause as Adrian rose to his feet, visibly moved. When Emily stepped off the stage moments later, he embraced her tightly. "You've done all the hard work," he whispered. "This is your moment, not mine." But Emily shook her head, her eyes glistening with emotion. "No, Adrian, this is our moment. None of this would exist without you." In that instant, they both understood the true depth of their partnership. It wasn't defined by wealth or fame, but by the simple act of seeing someone's potential and choosing to nurture it. Their collaboration had sparked a chain reaction of positivity, empowering individuals and communities to dream bigger and aim higher. Years later, when reflecting on their journey, Adrian and Emily agreed on one thing. The most meaningful successes weren't measured in dollars or headlines, but in the lives they touched. Emily's nonprofit continued to thrive, reaching thousands of aspiring scientists and engineers worldwide. Adrian's commitment to philanthropy deepened, inspiring others in his circle to adopt a similar mindset. Together, they proved that compassion, coupled with action, could create lasting change. Their story served as a reminder that everyone carries untapped potential, and that sometimes all it takes is a single act of kindness to unlock it. For Adrian and Emily, that act wasn't just transformative for themselves. It became a catalyst for countless others, proving that humanity's greatest strength lies in its ability to lift one another up.